coming to you live from the Commonwealth. That is a business summit that is taking place right here in the nation's capital in Windhoek, Namibia. Specifically, we are at Mercure and Movenpick Hotel right here this morning. We have quite a couple of interviews lined up. We will be speaking, that is to Chris Southworth, who is the Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce from the UK, to discuss the role of digital trade and how the Commonwealth Business Summit is shaping the future of global commerce. Equally, we'll also be speaking to Valerie Niem, who's a philanthropist and founder of Invicta, about the role of female entrepreneurs in driving social and economic development across Africa. She will join us this morning also to engage on the offset of this Commonwealth Business Summit that is taking place here for the first time on the African continent, and also taking place here for the first time in Namibia. We now start with our first engagement, and that will be speaking, that is to the Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce of the UK. Now, Chris Southworth is globally recognized leader and a policy influencer in the sphere of international trade and commerce. Now, as Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC UK, and ICC Representative to the Commonwealth, he is a driving force behind efforts to build inclusive, sustainable and digitally enabled trade ecosystems across the globe. As a key voice in digital trade transformation, Chris is also co-chair of the Legal Reform Advisory Board at the ICC Digital Standards Initiative, co-founder of the UK Centre for Digital Trade and Innovation, and an advisor to the UK government on digitalizing global trade. With his pioneering work in shaping the ICC Digital Trade Roadmap and his role in championing global legal harmonisation for paperless trade, Chris Southworth joins us to discuss how the Commonwealth Business Summit is unlocking new opportunities for innovation, inclusion and trade transformation. Chris, good morning and thank you so much for making time to speak to us. How's your stay been in Namibia so far?
It's been fantastic. Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. I arrived in yesterday, so I've had a day to acclimatise.
Okay. Now, we understand that you are a strong advocate for digital trade as a catalyst for for inclusion and sustainable global commerce. Firstly, perhaps maybe for those who are listening and might be thinking, what is digital trade? How do we trade digitally? People are so perhaps used to seeing physical, containers maybe moving from one continent to the other. And, why is digital trade so crucial specifically for the Commonwealth countries? I'm talking about 56 countries with an economy over almost close to about 800 billion US dollars.
Yeah, digital trade at the end of the day is about the business environment in which businesses are doing trade and business, actually. It's not just trade. But in today's world, the environment is incredibly antiquated. It's full of process. There are 40 billion pieces of paper flying around the system at any given time. And so for businesses, especially small businesses actually, it's incredibly slow, it's very complex and very inefficient. What we're talking about is sweeping away all of those antiquated processes, which actually haven't changed much in 200 years, so that the system is cheaper, faster, and much more efficient and simpler for all companies all over the Commonwealth, but particularly small companies who feel the impact of red tape and bureaucracy the most.
Maybe some might be saying that, maybe there must be a reason as to why it hasn't changed much over the last 200 years. Are we getting rid of paper completely? We don't need it in our processes?
Absolutely. This is about, designing a trading system that's fit for purpose for the 21st century. Of course, that means moving into the digital era. The reason it hasn't changed is because trade is so complex. There are so many different stakeholders. Everybody has to move together. It's a collaboration, not a competition. We have to just work together, and that's where the Commonwealth becomes so important, because Commonwealth laws underpin 80% of global trade, 80% of global shipping, and 60% of global trade finance. It plays an incredibly important role underpinning global trade overall, but particularly across the Commonwealth.
Now, we understand you're playing a crucial role in the development of the ICC Digital Trade Roadmap. For those that might be watching, and also for my own interest, what does that entail and what does that mean?
Well, prior to 2017-18, there really wasn't a framework. We all knew we wanted to digitalize trade, but the timing probably wasn't quite right. The technologies weren't probably quite there, but we all knew that it was more than time to modernize and digitalize the trading system. What's different now is the laws are coming into place, the technologies are there, and there are more coming with AI and quantum computing, and so the timing is right for pushing ahead. And then the Commonwealth plays a critical role. We've spent 2 years now developing a model legal framework. So we've learnt a lot from changing laws in places like Singapore, in the UK, and English law changed in 2023 with the Electronic Trade Documents Act. And it's had a transformative effect for businesses trading. And what we're now saying is, let's expand that, let's roll it out, let's really scale it up so businesses all over the Commonwealth can reap the same benefits.
Okay. Talking about all businesses reaping the same benefits, specifically, if you look at the fact that these 56 member states who are in the Commonwealth, they are those that are not on equal footing. So what about then those developing economies?
Well, that's why we've developed the model laws, just to make it really clear from a business point of view, what are the key legal frameworks you need to have in place. So we're not changing every single law. What we're saying is, for businesses, these are the critical pieces of legislation that you need to ensure that companies can trade electronically, they can transact electronically. That's crucial. Simple things like electronic signatures, really quite fundamental. Digital identities is a big part of that. Those are the foundational pillars on which businesses can trade. But what we now know, having changed particularly English law, is we've slashed average trade transaction times from 2 to 3 months to an hour. We've cut trade transaction costs 80%. We've cut cross-border processing times, all of that sort of delays on the borders, 80%. Companies have improved profitability 15%, workforce productivity 60%. And that's a reflection of the inefficiency in the system, and then the benefit of simply moving into the digital era and using modern technology. Because in the current trading system, the physical shipment of goods and the payment processes are two completely separate processes. And in the middle is just a whole swathe of paperwork and bureaucracy. And of course, the moment you remove that paper, it all sandwiches into one, and that's why, and simply using technology, you can then cut the times, companies can transact, and that means they get more liquidity, they can move their cash faster, they get more control over their money. And in today's world, where we're facing tariffs and volatility, that agility is crucial to being resilient. So this is absolutely the catalyst moment, but we need acceleration on legal reform, because if we don't remove the legal barriers, companies can't benefit in the same way that we want them to. And in the Commonwealth, we should be able to do that faster than most blocks in world trade.
I'm glad you mentioned the issue of harmonizing digital trade laws. On Monday, we had an opportunity to engage with a British High Commissioner to Namibia, who talked about the fact that generally in terms of law, the similarities in terms of the Commonwealth countries. But we're seeing that, for instance, Namibia, in terms of electronic signatures, only becoming law next year. So what are we doing more to ensure that we digitize this, we harmonize these digital laws and become much more easier, more quickly, to ensure that we are all on equal footing?
Well, that's why the Commonwealth Trade Ministers set up the Legal Reform and Digitalisation Working Group to give us the platform to work together. In the Commonwealth, we've got some of the best trade innovators in the likes of Singapore, UK, Australia, Kenya. There's quite a group of fast-moving, forward-thinking governments. And the opportunity in the Commonwealth is to share best practice. We're a family of 56 countries. We know each other really well. Many of our laws are exactly the same, almost word for word, actually. So it's not a difficult process. In English law, it took us 4 years from start to finish, but we learned a lot of lessons in that process. And I would say now we can do that in 18 months, and probably 12 of those months is when going through the parliamentary process, which you have to respect in every country. But we know exactly what the problem is, we know exactly what the solution is, and what we're now launching today, in fact, is that model legal framework to make it much easier for governments. And then we as business are here to guide, support, provide that capability, because we know capability and capacity is a real challenge, especially in the emerging economies.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that the Electronic Trade and Documents Act was recently passed in the UK, major legislation in digitalizing trade documentation. What lessons can possibly other countries learn from you? You talked about the fact it took you almost around about four years to complete. Will perhaps that serve as some sort of understudy for other countries to get it much done quickly?
Yeah, absolutely, and we're not the only ones. There are a number of countries, actually more Commonwealth countries have reformed laws than anywhere else in the world, which is quite interesting, and it's, I think, a reflection of the forward-thinking nature of the Commonwealth. We're more agile because of the legal framework that we have. What we now need to do is just really accelerate the pace and scale. You know, with technologies coming at us quickly, especially AI, what's often not realised is the trading system just is not fit for purpose for AI at scale. You can only apply it in sections of the trade environment, and that's because the data is in different formats. It can't move across platforms and systems, and especially across borders. But once you start to harmonise the data, you get digital identity infrastructure into place, so we can actually see who we're trading with, all at the click of a button, and ensure there's a trading environment to transact and buy and sell, then the whole environment changes. And the real opportunity here actually is to simplify the trading system. What we don't want to do is digitalize a system that's 200 years old. This is all about looking at how that system could be much, much simpler. And of course, data, you don't need all these bits of paper. You don't need to keep on asking the same questions. You can actually see what's going on in your supply chain. So digitalizing trade is not an end goal, it's an enabler to becoming more sustainable, more transparent, and in the current context, a lot more agile and resilient.
Okay. Now, talking about the fact that, you know, we've got so many member states for instance, in the Commonwealth, you know, all don't have the same infrastructure, policy gaps. So what are we then trying to do to ensure that, you know, that forums like this or the ICC provide an opportunity for other countries to catch up?
Well, the Commonwealth is really interesting because obviously the world is effectively sort of designed by big trading blocks, whether it's China, whether it's India, Europe, US, ASEAN, Africa increasingly. But the Commonwealth is the glue in many ways. It cuts right across everywhere from the Pacific to the Caribbean and the Americas and everywhere else in between. And is a microcosm of the global trading community. It's got the smallest nations, but some of the biggest nations. And so it's a brilliant environment in which to work together, collaborate, set the context for pretty much everyone else in global trade. If you can scale solutions in the Commonwealth, you can pretty much scale solutions everywhere in the global trading environment. The difference is we all know each other, we have deep relationships with each other, and we have the forums in which to do this.
Talking about one important aspect which comes out mostly in anything of the 21st century is the concept of sustainability, and especially when you look at the issue of the Paris Agreement. How then can digital trade contribute to the advancement of climate goals as enshrined in the Paris Agreement? Is there a sustainability aspect in this digitalization of trade?
Absolutely. It's digitalizing trade is a stepping stone towards becoming more sustainable. The big challenge in the Paris Accord is what they call Scope 3. It's how do you get your supply chains and the movement of trade to a place where it is more sustainable, with less carbon emissions, better for the environment. But you don't get that visibility in the current system because all the information is on fragmented systems. You can't see what's going on. Once you digitalize trade, you've got the data, you can aggregate, especially when you use technologies like AI, you can really aggregate that data, you can make better informed decisions, you know exactly what's going on, who is doing what, where the goods and processes are. And of course, that enables companies to be a lot more sustainable in a way that you just cannot do in today's trading economy.
One important part is that obviously the world is changing. We welcome the evolution of technology, but one issue that also comes up is the security thereof, whether it's secure or not. You know, so you talk about often building trust in a digital ecosystem, but what role does digital identity and standardization play in ensuring secure, efficient and trade transactions? Because as much as we want to see who we're trading with, we'll also want to ensure that certain information are safe. That aspect of safety.
Yeah, I get asked this a lot. Nobody in today's world, if you were asked to design a trading system and you started to say, right, let's have 40 pieces of paper, let's do this in the mail, people would say you're mad. You'd be doing that using technology. Why? Because technology is a lot more secure than paper. And what often gets left out in that conversation is just how much fraud, delay, loss, goes on in the current system because paper is easy to copy, is the truth of it. That's much, much harder in encrypting systems and modern technology systems.
Now, as we conclude our conversation this morning, as we convene here starting today, government leaders, business leaders within the Commonwealth, what are your expectations and outcomes in shaping the next decade when it comes to global trade?
Well, in the grand context of what's going on in the trading environment, it's volatile, it's unpredictable. What we're looking for, the first priority is a sort of de-escalation of tariffs. It's about stabilizing the global trading system. It's about reinvigorating that trading system. And what we're looking for really from today is a strong statement from trade ministers to reassure businesses that we're all working together. We don't want tariff wars or trade wars. We want to keep trade flowing. And then we want a strong statement on accelerating the pace and scale of legal reforms so that we can actually enable our companies to grow, whether they're large or small. There's a big economic opportunity up for grabs here. If we digitalize trade, that's worth 1 trillion. If we do that and digitalize customs as well at the same time, that's 2 trillion. So there's a big prize to be had. Time is not on our side because technologies are coming at us really quickly. The risk really is if we don't move fast on legal reform, then some countries will get left behind, smaller companies will get left behind, and that's the complete opposite of what we want. So we're calling on ministers today to provide a robust statement of support. We're expecting that, and that will play a key role in global trade, not just within the Commonwealth.
Well, Chris Southworth, thank you so much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, that was Chris Southworth, who is the Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce in the UK, talking to us about the role of digital trade in transforming Commonwealth economies here as we are underway in terms of the Commonwealth Business Summit that is taking place here in Namibia. Stay tuned. We return. We have more conversations after this brief break.